Now, if you follow my channel, you know I've covered pretty much the entire line in terms of the Surface Pro lineup through the years. It's one of my favorite 2-in-1 detachables, and for good reason. They put premium quality into it, excellent displays, and I like the detachable keyboard and the versatility that it provides. Now, I was very excited when Microsoft decided to go all in with Windows on ARM this year. That is because they're running the Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite, not only in the Surface Pro 11, which is what we have here today, but also the Surface Laptop 7. Now look for that separate video. I have that as well very soon, so stay tuned. You don't want to miss anything. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Now, what can we expect with this Surface Pro 11? I've been using it for the past 48 hours, and I have some thoughts here. Now, right off the bat, battery life is excellent. We'll talk about that later on in this review. I've done my first initial battery test, and it looks very promising. Compatibility issues are a little bit hit or miss. I think for gaming, it just depends on which title, so that's been hit or miss. But as far as doing everyday tasks, Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, everything very smooth and fluid, no hiccups so far. There are some compatibility issues in certain peripherals. I wasn't able to get my colorimeter to work to test the display metrics. We'll talk about that. But for the most part, this looks very promising. I saw a very good single multi-core performance on this. Got a lot of potential here, but of course, this is early days, but I think the potential is there and I'm really excited about it. Now, the other thing I'm really excited about is the move finally to an OLED display. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's bright, it's sharp, it's color accurate, it's looking pretty good. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is my first look review at the brand new Surface Pro 11 running the Snapdragon X Elite processor, all new for 2024. Coming up. Now, before we get to the unit itself, I just want to let everyone know, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by Microsoft. I'm not being sponsored by Microsoft. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Microsoft is not getting copy approval. That means they're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, this unit was purchased with my own money. This is not a review unit from Microsoft. Now, pricing for the Surface Pro 11 starts at $999 over at Microsoft.com, or you can go to Best Buy. There's also a student or military discount that you can also get, but I'm not going to get into that now. Basically, starts at $999 and goes up from there. Prices tested here today, $1,499.99 for just the tablet portion alone. If you want the keyboard and pen, that will cost extra. And yes, it is very expensive when it's all said and done. For those interested, I will leave a link in the description below for more information and where you can buy one. This is really, really gorgeous. Again, that sapphire blue, match it up with the laptop. Wow, this is nice. That is beautiful. Yeah, there's probably some documentation in here. So we have this pretty compact power charger here once again. This is the Surface Pro 11, and this is also 39 watts. So I think it's the same charger we just saw on its sibling, the Surface Laptop 7. So it has that Surface Connect right there. Okay, and then we get your power cord, and I think that's it. And then no pen or anything. That's all separate, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Now, this very expensive keyboard. Okay, more pull tabs. Okay, one over here and one over there. Okay, there we go. And it just sticks there and magnetically, and of course we'll charge there. And then here is the matching color, the sapphire. As far as a flex keyboard, again, this will have a battery in it. It works via Bluetooth as well, so you'll be able to connect it without having to be physically connected to the unit. So pretty interesting. Now, when it comes to the ports, on the left side are two USB 4.0 ports, always welcome. On the right is a Surface Connect port. That's still welcome in my book. I like it. And then on the top, you have your power button along with your volume rocker up and down. That's it for the ports on this. There's no headphone jack for those wondering.
And for those wondering, there is no USB-A port, there's no micro SD card slot. There is expandable storage, and that's easily accessible through that latch on the bottom, and you don't need any tool or anything to access it. You just pop it out with your finger, and that accesses the very small 2230 SSD. Here you can see the reads and writes as far as the speeds of the SSD. We'll talk more about that soon, but I like having expandable storage, especially in a Surface Pro device. Now, when it comes to the build, this thing is off the charts. It's a very premium feel. It's an all-metal design, and it just screams quality. And as far as there's no give or flex or anything like that, so it is a really solid, rock-solid build, in fact. And I love the color here. This is the Sapphire, and it's a blue that is absolutely gorgeous, in my opinion. I also picked up the Sapphire color as far as the Surface Laptop 7. That's a separate video coming, of course. And as far as this is concerned, the display, a move to an OLED display is a very welcome move indeed. With the OLED display, you get the really deep blacks, the super vibrant colors, the really high contrast. It's all there. Now, unfortunately, my colorimeter software is not compatible with this as far as Windows and ARM, and it didn't have the right drivers. I don't think that's why it's detecting it. I'm looking into that. But just from the eyeball test, you're getting a very bright display. You're also getting that very high refresh rate, up to 120 hertz. So you're going to get that very smooth, very fluid experience. It's an HDR display, so watching high dynamic range content so far, Netflix, Amazon, YouTube has been spectacular. A really great media consumption device. There is no doubt about it. And when you attach that very expensive keyboard cover, the Flex cover, you also get a very expensive accessory, but it does allow you to be more productive, more laptop-like, and that, of course, is always welcome. I just wish it wasn't so damn expensive. Now, having said that, it could also be used detached from the unit. We saw that on the Robo and Collar that I looked at, and I like it here. It allows you to use it in different scenarios that you wouldn't normally be able to use it, and I really like that. Now, I'm able to do everything with it. It does have a battery in it, and it does tell you how much charge is left in it, and it does connect via Bluetooth. So having it detached gives you more options, and I like that. Now, typing on the Flex keyboard cover here with the pen, everything's included there. As far as charging the pen, it stores and charges within that section on the top of the keyboard. And the tactility, the key travel, the overall feedback has been very good. It gives you a raised typing angle, of course. That allows you to have a more comfortable typing experience. And overall, I've been using them through the years, and I think this is an excellent iteration. And again, it looks nice with this Alcantara on it, of course, and it does have that beautiful matching sapphire blue color. So overall, a good typing experience. The problem, of course, is it's so crazy expensive that I think it may be prohibitive for some. Again, I spent over $400 and almost $450 or so with the keyboard cover, the Flex cover, and the pen all in. This is a very expensive proposition. Now, speaking of the pen, it's a Surface Slim Pen 2. We've seen it on a number of iterations the last couple of years. It's a Carpenter-style pen that has haptic feedback on it. It also stores and charges within the keyboard cover. I think this is a very good implementation, and in sketching out artwork, diagrams, and the like, so far initially have been very good. I'll test it more in the upcoming full review. Now, I like the live captions and all that. I'll have a separate video on that very soon. A lot of these new AI features are here, especially the co-creator that you'll find in the Paint app. And what it allows you to do is draw out a little bit of a very basic diagram or sketch, and that will translate it via AI into a fully formed image. And here I'm doing a red Ferrari, very basic, very childlike as far as I'm sketching it out with the pen. And then, of course, it did a pretty decent job of rendering a very usable image, in my opinion, that you can manipulate and edit and do all those kinds of things. So I'm going to explore more of this in terms of the AI effects. So stay tuned. More is coming. I'll show you more in the full review, but I do like it. I think it's a nice thing to include here, especially local level, not on the cloud level. And I think it definitely does the job. We'll have more to say on this very soon. This has a really nice camera. What do you think about it for video conferencing? What do you think about it for the audio quality? Is it good? Now, it does have an AI, all the AI effects, of course. It does have an NPU with up to 45 tops, of course. We know that's been hyped up. Now, the studio effects will give you that auto framing. Here it is. So it works pretty good, actually. Really responsive. As you can see, it keeps me in frame. All right, let's turn that off. You got eye contact, and then you have the background blur effect. You got standard blur, and then you've got portrait blur. I think it actually does a pretty reasonable job here. Pretty good. What do you think about everything? Let me know in the comments section below. Now from these synthetic benchmarks such as the Geekbench 6 that I ran, as you can see, good single, good multi-core performance, and the integrated Adreno graphics were pretty decent, but not quite as good as Intel Arc graphics or the Radeon 780M from AMD. But the Cinebench 2024 definitely had good single core. I was hoping for a little bit more multi-core. But again, this is a tablet-like laptop type function on this. I'm not expecting it to blow away something with, say, a discrete GPU or anything like that, but it is very competitive, especially if you're going to get better battery life, and of course, if you're going to be running cooler and quieter. I did notice the fans when it was under heavy load, and I did notice it get a little bit warm on the back when it was pushed at its maximum load. So just keep that in mind. So it's not totally quiet and it's not totally cool. But when you're doing everyday tasks so far, the fans have hardly come on, and it did run cool and quiet and those kind of things like Microsoft Office, email, web browsing. But where you put it under heavy load, you will notice the fans and it will warm up. Now, speaking of battery life, I couldn't get my PC Mark X Modern Office test to work or anything like that for whatever reason. Again, compatibility issues are going to creep up, so just going to be hit or miss, so just keep that in mind. But having said that, I did run a 4K video on loop till the battery was drained. They started at 100%, and then they drained it to the end. And this got 12 hours and 18 minutes of that 4K video loop, which is actually really good. Now, consider that I did have it at 40% screen brightness. I did have the 120 hertz enabled, so expect a little bit better battery life if you lower to the lower refresh rate or if you lower the brightness. But at 40%, it was definitely viewable on this. And I guess for 4K video, that's a pretty darn good result. We're going to have more to say on this in the upcoming full review. But so far, battery life is looking very good on the Snapdragon-based Surface Pro 11. Now, one of the biggest drawbacks so far of Windows on ARM is that some x86 apps will not work, just simply won't do it. I'll get into that in a separate video. I'll also talk about gaming, which has been pretty much hit or miss so far. So there are a lot of things we need to talk about, but the emulation on the Prism that Microsoft is using does seem to work much better than previous iterations when we had Windows on ARM in the past. This does seem to work a lot better, but again, certain applications have not been able to work for me. I wasn't able to get PC Mark X to work on this properly as far as doing all my battery tests, so I had to do an alternative to that. I couldn't get certain things like my colorimeter to work. That, of course, didn't have the right drivers, I don't think. I wouldn't recognize my colorimeter, my Spider 5 Elite that I normally use to test the display. So there are a lot of things that are not working, and again, it's been hit or miss. But when you're doing general everyday stuff like Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, or using any apps that are ARM-based natively, you're going to be perfectly fine. In fact, it was very fluid, very smooth experience so far with little hiccups. But there are the times where you have these highly specialized apps. Doing video editing may be an issue. We'll talk about that soon as well. There are a lot of things that are still not working that may be addressed via updates, firmware updates, and so forth, as there were a number of updates so far. So it's early days here, so just be patient. We'll see some improvement, I'm sure, over time. So far, 48 hours in with the Surface Pro 11, there's a lot to like here, especially with this ARM-based processor, the Snapdragon X Elite. Now, of course, when you're doing those everyday tasks, you're going to be perfectly fine. The emulation on Prism seems to be working a lot better than previous iterations in terms of emulation. So far, looking pretty good. But there are some apps, x86 apps, that will not work. I couldn't get it to work or work properly. There have been some crashes. There's been some bugs, of course, but these are early day issues with a new processor, and I think they're going to have some time here. Give it some time to work out the kinks. I think this has got a lot of promise here, and I can't wait to bring you my full review. That is coming very soon.
So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. And don't forget to check out my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video.